On the evening of April 26, 2013, Jessica Heeringa was finishing up her late shift at an Exxon gas station in Norton Shores, Michigan. At 26 years old, and as a dedicated mother to a 3-year-old son, Jessica was accustomed to working late, driven by the need to support her son after her boyfriend, Dakota Dyer, had recently become unemployed. Despite the strains in her relationship with Dakota, Jessica's priority was her son's well-being, showing resilience in the face of personal challenges. The day had unfolded typically for Jessica. However, the night took an unsettling turn when, at 11 p.m., a customer dialed 911 to report an unusual situation: the absence of any attendant at the gas station, hindering the customer's ability to purchase gas.
I am joined live outside the Exxon gas station right now with Craig Harpster. We let you listen to those 911 call earlier today having to do with the man that found the store empty when he stopped by. Craig, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate your time. Tell us what it was like when you walked into that store.
Well, first I attempted to purchase gas with the pay inside. Nothing, the clerk has to activate that. The lights were on and everything, and it seemed normal, but we went inside and hollered, "Hey, is anybody in here? What's up?" And walked around, as in looked in the bathroom. Very concerned. I seen purse there, cigarettes, her coat in the back, and we frequent this store probably 3 to 4 times.
Upon receiving the call, officers arrived at the scene to conduct a preliminary investigation. Jessica's personal vehicle was found undisturbed in the parking lot. Her purse, which contained over $400, her keys, and her jacket, were found inside the gas station, suggesting she wasn't planning to leave. Also, the cash register's contents were intact, indicating that a robbery was not the motive. Further investigation revealed alarming clues. Traces of blood were discovered outside the store, alongside a battery cover for a firearm laser sight, as well as 2 watch batteries. Police tried to check the surveillance footage to get a clearer view on what had occurred. However, the property owner had neglected to install a security system on the premises, which left investigators frustrated.
Turn that off on my property or I'm going to sue you.
She's not going to turn it off.
We keep my property, please.
Do you have a concern for your missing employee?
I do.
Okay. Police have asked you repeatedly to put up surveillance cameras. That would have helped here. Why has that not happened?
That has never happened. You need to leave my property, please. Everything I've done, I've cooperated with the police. Have a nice day.
Of course, that mother tonight not alone in wishing that surveillance evidence was there, but she pointed out that the relationship between Jessica and her boss was good. In fact, recently, she says, he had bought a bike for her young son. In the newsroom tonight.
The investigation gained significant momentum after an eyewitness account was provided by one of Jessica's colleagues. On the night of the incident, she and her husband were riding motorcycles eastbound on Sternberg Road and passed by the Exxon station around 11. She reported seeing a silver minivan maneuvering into the station's north drive and subsequently driving behind the building. The colleague observed a suspicious individual at the rear of the van doing something with the hatch before moving to the driver's side, entering the vehicle and driving away. She described the van's driver as a male in a red or orange sweatshirt. Her husband speculated the vehicle to be a Chrysler, specifically noting its silver color. Police acquired surveillance footage from other businesses in the vicinity, a strategic move given the absence of cameras at the gas station itself. Some of the footage recovered depicted the silver minivan transitioning northbound onto Grand Haven Road, with additional footage capturing the vehicle's continued northward journey shortly after. A witness contributed further insight, recalling a sighting of a man in a minivan engaging with Jessica. The witness described the man as creepy and suggested that he seemed to be romantically interested in Jessica.
I think it's a distinct possibility that he could have been scouting ahead of time. This is a
Christian Van Antwerpen says he has told his story to police, that he stopped at the Exxon around 9 Friday night to get gasoline on his way home from his job at nearby Firehouse Guitar. Jessica was working there alone.
One of the most incredibly friendly, helpful people that you would ever meet. Unfortunately, that makes her pretty susceptible to creepy people that want to do bad things to her.
As Van Antwerpen was leaving, the silver minivan pulled up just after Jessica went outside to do some paperwork at the pumps. He says he heard some of their conversation, the man talking from inside his van, but that he never saw his face.
These detailed descriptions provided by witnesses led to the creation of a composite sketch of the suspect, which directed the investigation's focus towards Jeffrey Willis, a local resident known to own a silver minivan matching the description. Willis cooperated with authorities, consenting to a search of his vehicle. Although the search yielded no direct evidence linking him to Jessica, investigators observed that the van's interior seemed meticulously cleaned recently. Willis accounted for his whereabouts, claiming to have been at home until 12:30 a.m. on the night Jessica vanished. Despite exhaustive efforts and searches, Jessica remained missing, and the investigation eventually stalled, transitioning into a cold case amidst a lack of leads. The narrative took a turn in 2016 with an attempted abduction incident involving a teenage girl and a silver minivan. The girl, on her way home from a party, encountered the driver of the minivan who deceitfully offered her a lift. Upon entering the vehicle, the situation rapidly deteriorated as the driver locked the doors and revealed a firearm, dismissing her request to use a phone. In a desperate bid to escape, she asked the driver to lower the windows of the car as she was feeling unwell. The kidnapper complied, and the teenager executed a daring escape by jumping out from the moving vehicle, sustaining injuries, but ultimately saving herself from potential harm. This incident was directly linked to Jeffrey when the brave survivor identified him as the assailant. This connection between Willis and the aggressive abduction attempt reignited interest in his involvement in Jessica Heeringa's case. In the continued investigation into Jeffrey's activities, a thorough search of his van uncovered a stolen Walther P22 pistol with its serial number intentionally obscured. Through detailed forensic work, law enforcement officials were able to recover the serial number, which led them to the gun's lawful owner. Remarkably, this owner was identified as one of Jeffrey's co-workers, who had previously reported the weapon missing from her home. The co-worker remarked that the pistol had been equipped with a laser sight, a component that was missing when the gun was recovered by the police. A similar laser sight had been recovered at the scene of the petrol station where Jessica worked. The extensive examination of Jeffrey's van, his home, and his digital footprints culminated in a disturbing picture of his criminal behavior. Evidence gathered through this investigation implicated Jeffrey not only in the attempted kidnapping of a teenager, but also connected him to the disappearance of another woman named Rebecca Bletch, as well as the disappearance of Jessica. He was promptly arrested and charged with murder. In Jessica's trial, prosecutors pointed out that Jeffrey was a regular visitor to the Exxon gas station. They also mentioned that he had a property close by, which he had inherited from his grandfather. When searched, police found tons of cleaning supplies and indicators of a hastily attempted cleanup. Colleagues of Jeffrey's provided compelling testimony. They had noticed he had scratches on his face and arms right after that night. The prosecution alleged Jeffrey had been meticulously observing Jessica over a period of time, culminating in his actions on that night where he abducted her from the station, using the secluded rear as his point of approach. The discovery of Jessica's blood near the back entrance further implicated him, suggesting a violent encounter had ensued. Adding to the narrative, testimony from Brenda Nestor, a frequent visitor to the gas station, was introduced. She detailed a concerning interaction involving Jessica and Jeffrey the night before Jessica went missing.
When you walked in to the gas station, did you recognize who was working that particular night?
Yes.
Who?
It was Jessica.
And when you walked into the gas station that night, was Jessica alone?
No.
Who else was there?
Jeffrey Willis.
Now, had you known Mr. Willis at all prior to this?
No.
Had you ever met him before?
No.
Had you ever seen him before?
No.
What makes it so sure in your mind that it was Mr. Willis?
Because he looked right at me because I was having a conversation with Jessica about her being there by herself at night. And that I'd have, if I was her, I'd have her husband or boyfriend or whoever come down and stay with her last hour to make sure she was all right. And she said, he turned around, looked at me and said that she got her customers looking out for her too. And she, at that point, she sort of shook her head and like shivered. And something just wasn't right about the way she was acting.
So when you heard all the news the next day, you realized who was missing because you knew this person, right?
As the trial continued, the prosecution highlighted a troubling pattern in his actions towards women, suggesting he had a tendency to try and kidnap them. When the teenage girl he had attempted to kidnap escaped by jumping out the car, she had ran for her life and ended up knocking on a neighbor's door. The prosecution called that neighbor to testify in court.
She was just a wreck, and she was terrified. So I got her in the back bedroom, and she and closed the door to the bedroom, and she literally wanted to climb under the bed. She was terrified, so she wanted to get under the bed, and she kept saying, "He has a gun, he's had, what are you doing? Call the police." And she was just hysterical, and so I didn't have my phone with me. I had left it out near my kitchen, so I left her, and she was screaming, and my dogs were barking. It was chaos, and I went out and I grabbed my phone, and I called 911.
At one point, the prosecutor asked the teen if the man who tried to abduct her was in the courtroom. She said yes and described Jeffrey Willis.
The prosecution also focused on the sad story of Rebecca Blech. The 36-year-old woman had been found dead near her house. She had been shot, and her clothes were messed up in a way that made it look like she tried to fight off her attacker. It was theorized that Jeffrey had planned to kidnap Rebecca with a gun and take her to the empty property he owned, intending to harm her. However, Rebecca fought back, which led Jeffrey to shoot her. The police had found very strong evidence linking Jeffrey to Rebecca's murder. This included her DNA on his gloves. Also, when Jeffrey's computer was analysed, investigators had found folders on his computer bearing the initials of both Jessica and Rebecca, with accompanying dates believed to indicate the days of their respective disappearances or deaths. The folder labelled JLH, Jessica's initials, contained photographs of Jessica, including her missing poster, along with a saved news article detailing her disappearance. Kevin Bloom, Jeffrey's cousin, became the star witness in Jessica's trial. He claimed that he had witnessed firsthand what Jeffrey had done to Jessica. He described a scene at the abandoned house that was so graphic and disturbing that unfortunately, we cannot relay this to our viewers on YouTube. According to Kevin, once Jeffrey had completed his act with Jessica, they then transported Jessica's body to a remote area where Jeffrey had already dug a grave. In exchange for his testimony in court, he was sentenced to a reduced sentence of time served, plus 5 years of probation, a sentence that some could describe as a slap on the wrist. In the end, Jeffrey was found guilty of the murders of both Jessica and Rebecca, and was handed a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Jeffrey's predation in everyday locations, preying on individuals at their workplace or merely walking down the street, was particularly damaging. We should all feel safe going about our day-to-day lives without fear. Hopefully this story can be a reminder of the need for change, urging us to advocate for safer public spaces and more vigilant communities. As we conclude this week's video, please consider supporting our channel by liking and subscribing. We release videos every week, and your engagement is crucial as we continue to shed light on these stories. Thank you for watching, and until our next video, please stay safe and look out for one another.